Hi, welcome to the channel where I help you make better coffee and give you honest reviews. Today I have the Turin DF83 with me, and this was sent to me by the Espresso outlet, so I want to say special thanks to Joe at the espressooutlet.net. It really helps me out by getting some of these machines in so I can review them for you guys. But let's go ahead and get into the review. I'll kind of do sort of the pros and cons. It's going to be a little bit less structured like that just because, you know, this is really similar to the DF64. So if you like that grinder a lot, this is kind of just like a bigger brother upgraded type model. So let's just kind of get into it a little bit. I'll tell you what I think about it and sort of the different aspects of it that interest me. First off, let's talk about the build quality. It definitely seems like it's a little bit upgraded. It's hefty, man. This thing is freaking hefty. It is kind of you know, a little bit much to move it around, especially compared to the DF64, which isn't a light grinder. That grinder is also still pretty heavy, but this is just even beefier than that. This weighs as much as like an espresso machine does, honestly, and a heck of a lot more if you're using a Bambino. But in terms of the overall build quality, it's definitely an upgrade. Everything feels like a thicker metal and kind of like more structurally put together nicely. But on build, let's kind of move over to design a little bit, and I'll tell you sort of some of the things that other people have mentioned, and I'm going to mention as well because they're all kind of weird things. Like, first off, this is in a weird spot. Having this on the left side, or depending on which way you're looking at it, on the right side, is kind of a weird place to put it. I think having the power cord in the back is a lot smarter, or at least, like, even if it had to be angled, putting it like slightly further back. That way, you know, in case you don't have an outlet going this direction, it's kind of a nice feature to have it in the back. So that was kind of a weird decision. Power button, I think it's probably a better place than this front one. A lot of people complained about having the button on the DF64 in the front, but I didn't really think it mattered all that much unless you used like a big hefty portafilter. But for me, I'm always using my bottomless, so I don't really have too much of an issue clicking right there. This is not a bad spot. It is kind of weird that the power button isn't faced up. It's actually like faced to the, like, down to the left. I'll show you that in a B-roll shot, but it's kind of like a little odd. And then the other design thing that I actually like more on the DF64 is the wood top here. The wood top's fine, but it definitely feels lighter and not quite as nice as the DF64's metal one. You know, I could go either way, I guess, but I think I like the DF64's metal one just a touch more. Not to mention, we have a lot of wood cabinets in our kitchen, and this wood kind of doesn't go with it. We have very light wood, so, you know, that's another aspect to it. If it was just all black, I mean, kind of matte black everything, as MKBHD would say, if you know who that is. But yeah, let's just make this a matte black and, you know, make it kind of more aesthetically to the whole machine. Having this wood piece kind of feels a little out of place. So that's most of the design thing. I will say I also really like this metal pointer. I think I didn't mind, again, because I kind of know, you know, where I'm at with my DF64, that I didn't really need a pointer that much, but I think a lot of people like it, and I do like having the pointer. I know that way I can really finally move exactly where I want to go without kind of guessing a little bit. And buying, a lot of people would buy like a plastic one, like 3D printed, which I did for my DF64, but this metal one just looks a lot nicer, and I think gives it more of an appealing look, and it feels nicer too. It's metal. Not that you're going to touch it like almost ever, but it is metal, and it, you know, it feels pretty good. So let's move into some of the like extras that it gives you. This funnel, I liked it when I unboxed it, and it is, I think it's magnetic. Like, maybe not, I don't know. I must not be magnetic. It felt like it when I first opened it, but this thing just like falls out too easy, as you can see. And when you put it in this, and I understand too, it's a little taller than your average one. So for this DF83 rather, it gets really close to it there. So you won't have any spillover, which is nice. But I prefer a nice magnetic one. This is a $13 funnel. It's nothing fancy. It's a little metal funnel, and it's got these little magnets on the bottom. So I could put this on here and actually put this upside down, and really it doesn't pop out. So I actually can dose in this because of that. So sometimes I'll put this on. Maybe you'll see that when I'm making a video or whatever. But I'll actually put this on my scale, put coffee beans right in here, and then dump it into the grinder. So I, just buy something like this. I think this one is, it's nice that it's sent in the box, but it's really not that functional, unfortunately. And then the plastic, I don't have a problem with this. I don't almost ever dose into a cup like this, so I don't really have a problem with it. I don't dose into a cup because I don't like dosing into a separate cup. Generally speaking, especially with the DF64, the fines are all at the top. So what happens is if you grind into this portafilter and you go directly into it, all the fines are going to be at the top once you puff this out. Whereas if you use something like this, you grind into here, the grinds, the fines, all of the finest grinds are at the top here, but then once you put this here and flip it, all your fines are now at the bottom, and that's going to clog your portafilter. So, I prefer to go right into here. Not to mention it's just kind of less mess, and you don't have to worry about the grind sticking to the plastic or metal. Even if you have metal, they'll stick. So it's nice to have, but I generally don't do it. I don't recommend people do that either. But that's all personal preference, I guess. So we've talked about the grinder, most of the functions. Obviously, this is a fully removable and fully customizable, chain here. So you could turn this as much as you want to get any kind of grinds. Right now, though, I'm going to show you making espresso with it, like I think most people would be doing. So let's go over to the bench and let's make a shot of espresso. All right, so we're going to do a quick speed test to show the difference between the speed of the DF64 and the DF83. Basically, the biggest thing when you're considering both these grinders is the big jump up here is the speed. Also, I think the burrs on this do a little bit better of a job, probably because of the size. So I have the SSP burrs, high uniformity burrs in here. So it does beg the question, would it be worth buying this over this would it be worth buying the DF83 over the DF64 if you're considering buying the high uniformity burrs? I would say yes, because I think this grinder is as good in terms of clarity and flavor and everything as the DF64 with the high uniformity. So I would say, if you're planning to get the DF64 with the upgraded burrs, just get the DF83 and call it a day, because you're getting a faster grinder with just as good coffee. I would say go with the DF83. But anyways, let's go ahead and do a quick speed test. I'll show you. I'll click these at the exact same time. 3, 2, 1. And that, yeah, so I mean, it was definitely a big jump. This actually, the DF83 was probably done like 5 seconds before I even shut it off. That's kind of the nice thing too, is if you let the DF83 run a little bit longer, you almost don't even have to puff anything out. Not much comes out. Whereas the DF83, or I'm sorry, the DF64, you definitely still have to puffs out. And then I'll show you a comparison of the grinds here. All right. So we're going to tap this around like I normally do. Try to get this pretty even. Yep, that's pretty good. Distribute. tamp. I always use one of these. All right, so we got the shot ready. All right, we're gonna start this shot of espresso. I'm gonna ramp it down here. And then ramp it up. And look at how there's not much tiger striping here. We have a beautiful even shot. There's not a lot of, it's coming all pretty evenly out. So that's like the nicest thing about this grinder, and it's one of the best I've seen so far. So I'm gonna give this 2 more seconds. Perfect. This looks exactly like the shots that I always like to pull. Probably about somewhere between 38 and 44 probably grams of coffee. So let me do a taste test and I'll let you know my final thoughts. Beautiful. Yeah, it never disappoints. The DF83 and the DF64 for that matter pull beautiful shots of espresso. I've never been disappointed with it. So yeah, I really like both those grinders a lot. It's so good. All right, so let me give you my final thoughts here, give you a score. First off, let me tell you who I think this is for versus the DF64. I think the DF64 is if you want to not do any upgrades, you just want to buy a grinder that's a lot more affordable, because that grinder you can get for around $400 to $500, whereas the DF83, it's a jump up. You're gonna be looking at like $650 to $800 depending on where you get it from. I highly recommend going to an Espresso outlet to get this. I'll leave a link in the description below. But if you have the money to spend on this and you have this space, it is a bigger grinder as you can see. I would say go with the DF83. It's a nicer grinder. It's faster. The burrs are a little bit nicer. You don't have to upgrade them, in my opinion, and it's just a tank, man. It makes really nice espresso every time. The only thing I will say on my wish list is that it does come with a hopper that you can put on there, and they are making ones with timers, but I would love it. It would be the one trick pony if either of these grinders had a grind by weight, because then you could do single dosing when you want a single dose, and then you can do timed or grind by weight in the morning when you don't want to have to worry about making decafs and things like that. You don't want to have to think about anything, because right now I have 2 grinders here. I have my Libra, which does grind by weight, which I really prefer for the morning. It just makes it a lot simpler. And then I have my single doser for more unique situations. But I would really, really love it if one of these grinders came in a grind by weight. So that's just my little fun tidbit. I really hope that they do someday. But overall, I'm going to give it a score. The DF83 is going to get, I'm going to give it a 9.6. This thing just knocks it out of the park. There's not much missing. There's not much that I would want better. The nitpicky things are like the power button, which I don't really mind, and then also the power cord, but it's kind of struggling to find things that you don't like about it. But I like it a lot. Again, 9.6, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.